In a world filled with conflict, in a universe comprised of differences, there's one thing that absolutely everything shares in common. We all exist. Including two guys named Jack and Michael, who like to chat about that very thing over a good cup of coffee. Let's pay them a visit, shall we?
Existence Brewing.
I'm here first. At least I think I am. I don't see him sitting anywhere. No, I think we're good. The temptation to order the $17 frappuccino is delicious. It's like a burrito and a frappuccino all at once. You tried it, madam? It's delicious.
Hooah! Did somebody say Al Pacino?
Yes. Oh, you can order my new Al Pacino.
Ugh. Brilliant.
Why does he sound so much like Marge Simpson? Frappuccino is just for me.
Did somebody say my name?
I think that's just the upset Al. You know. The I'm in the dark here. You know, that Al. So.
Do you think that's what he sounds like when in hotels have to do wake up calls to his room?
That is his wake up call. He's like, yeah, this is Pacino at 17. I want the wake up call. I don't want the standard wake up call. You just call me and say, I'm in the dark here. And that's it. And he'd probably get some of the most meat concierge level people in the world calling him like, oh, Mr. Pacino, I'm in the dark here. Oh, come on, put something into it, kid. Like, you know.
I bet they don't even call his room. I bet they go and knock on the door.
Oh, God.
It's one of those hotels where they're like in person.
Why am I thinking that no matter what situation you would knock on Al Pacino's door, be it his hotel suite, be it his chateau in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, like wherever it is, he's always in a towel. You know, he's like one of those guys that perpetually has a towel wrapped around him, like he's at the spa. I kind of feel like that's Al's.
He's wearing a robe and he has the towel on his head. Like that? Or are you saying just towel?
No robe, just like a towel wrapped around, you know, the bottom part of you to cover your Pacino bits and your Pacinios, whatever you want to call them.
I've never really thought about this, but I kind of feel like Al Pacino would be a really interesting person to follow.
To follow? Like stalk? Or?
Well, I'm sure that's the way it sounded. But no, like I'm saying like as like a reality TV show. Kind of like what they did with Jack and Ozzy. World. Yeah. Like he would be or another one would be like Jack Nicholson. I kind of feel like they're in that realm of their career where they really could give two Fs about what anyone thinks about them. And they're probably just kind of like we talked a little bit about this in a past episode with Christopher Walken and William Shatner. Where the comedy with those two are almost kind of like, is he playing a character or does he really not get it?
I think Bill gets it. Like after all these years, I think at some point it finally sank in. He gets it. He really does. But I don't know that Christopher does in the interviews that I've seen with him. It's possible. I hope so, because I would hate to think the joke is on him because we love him so. But I think I've got it as far as the previous incarnation or the original thought. I think I've got the reality show. We send Al back to college to live at, in a house, like pick your, Tau Kappa Pi or whatever it is, pick your trilogy of Greek alphabet letters. And, he parties hard and lives with the boys, and it's the whole thing. And, he moves in as the 78-year-old mogul or whatever he is, however old he is now. And you call it Frat Pacino.
Yeah, there you go.
That is the reality show. And he steers the lives of the young men in the worst possible directions. Like, you don't think it could get any worse than, hey, Al, Johnny, he's coming out with us tonight. Didn't he have alcohol poisoning? Well, yeah, but I think he's over that now. Look, you got to do a better job, kid. If you're gonna poison someone, you got to mean it. And then it's like the worst possible things about the college experience, and Al heightens them by a magnitude of 10. Call that a stunt? Have him go up 4 floors and jump next time. Come on. What do you call this place? A frat house? Like, for real? This is like an ice cream store, like that sort of thing. And we could have special guests, other guys who played mob bosses in the past.
No, I think that they could have some legs. Like if they were to, envision Mike Rowe's Dirty Jobs. And it's kind of like that where, like, you take Al and you put him in these situations where he's having to do things that, maybe like normal people do. But instead of it being, it's the clerk at the grocery store bagging your groceries, it's Al. And just call it like full Pacino. Or like, I don't know how good he might be in stand-up situations, but I would just find that very interesting, like a day in the life of Al Pacino.
I picture the dialed up Pacino, actually. You, meanwhile, picture the more mundane Pacino. Just like, do you want the milk in a bag? No? What's wrong with you? It's like jumping the fence.
Man, all these great ideas that we're just always giving people.
We're going to call his agent.
Could we get the full
really
Pacino?
Feel like Robert. I always feel I don't know if Robert Goulet is still alive too, but I've always felt like he needed a reality television show. Yeah, where he's just himself. Again, following these people a day in the life of. We might be incredibly bored, because after all, we're so used to keeping up with those pretty people whose lives are so interesting. And really, the interesting part of their lives is the fact that they're constantly at each other's throats. They're always arguing with each other. They're feuding. And I've never understood how that's interesting. Watching people argue, it's such bad juju, I mean, the energy, the Reiki just goes off the charts when that happens. I discovered this show. It was on years ago, and that's me, though. Classic Jack. He finds something 20 years after it aired. And I don't know how I wound up going down this rabbit hole. Thankfully, the Warren wasn't too large because it only lasted for 3 or 4 days. But I was watching reruns of this old A&E show called Airline.
Yes.
And of course, it's that slightly burned toast edges, just the edges of the toast dystopian, post 9/11, fresh post 9/11 world. And so they're following around all these people at the airport that are now not accustomed to standing in lines that are as long to get frisked by agents from TSA and have them go through their luggage. And then, of course, there's all the shit at the drama at the ticket counters. Why I became enraptured with that for even a few moments, let alone the number of episodes that I binged watched. It only lasted a couple seasons. It was based on a British TV show that was the same, but there was way too much other stuff for me because my interest was truly in like the customer experience, watching these people fight with the ticketing agents and just get completely pissed off. And then, of course, there were so many drunkards on that show, and I hate people who are belligerently inebriated. I can't stand them. It's one of the things that just makes me, as George Carlin once said, girls who get drunk and throw up at breakfast. That was on his list of most hated people. I can't stand people who get publicly inebriated, let alone privately so. So there were plenty of those people that got tossed off planes and then they get pissed because, why did I lose my seat? Get me back on the end. So that was what interested me. But they had way too many. I feel like the show was not successful because they had way too many the adventures of these agents that went on this little, they'd send the cameras with the agent who was obviously like a flaming homosexual along with like the prettiest girl who worked there, and they'd go to Nashville for some convention with the airline, but they wouldn't show all the boring shit that happened at the Holiday Inn Express in the Titan room for 7 hours. I had to sit and listen to all the bullshit from somebody. They showed him going out that night drinking on the town, and it's just like, and then they'd follow these passenger sagas. The one kid joined the Navy or something, and these tearful goodbyes. And it's, just get rid of this shit. I don't want to see that. I want to see customers complaining and making complete asses of themselves, because I feel like maybe the reason I was so interested in it for just a brief while was because it was such a rock and a hard play show, because I don't want to exonerate the airlines at all, because they're as criminal bastard as the fucking insurance companies are. They overbook their flights. I mean, how's that feel? Like, well, you better get here early because, and if your last name happens to be Zuccarello, you're fucked because we're boarding A first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've oversold this flight to Buffalo. So,
yeah,
what are you going to do?
All this talk about...
I don't want to exonerate them, but at the same time, these passengers, these people, as they've become known,
the slice of
widely,
life,
Karens and Kevins, they're just, ugh. But
all this talk about reality TV has made me think about one of my favorite shows that my wife and I, when we first got married, used to watch together, was called An Idiot Abroad. Ricky Gervais was one of the producers of this. And
never seen it.
Oh, it was hilarious. I need to send you a link. Idiot Abroad. It was essentially like a travel documentary, a British travel documentary. And Ricky Gervais would send this actor, his name is Carl Plinkton, on these like missions. And it would be like, kind of like, picture Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations, but slightly more neurotic, and like he's going into Bizarre Eats, but he has a phobia of scorpions. And, like just a weird situation where this poor man is having to, fight off his chicken allergy while trying to consume raw meats in Vietnam. And it's it's hilarious. And the guy was just so neurotic, and Ricky Gervais, I don't even think was actually like on the ground with him. He was more like in the HQ back at home and telling him what his next mission was going to be. And they would send him to like, the testicle festival in Laos or something like that.
Nothing like the testicle festival. They have 3 in Vientiane actually every year. And, there's a winter, there's a spring, and then they take the summer off.
Yeah, it depends on the third super moon. Depends on when that actually happens.
Oh, good grief. Yeah. Well, what would we do without reality TV, which is the other slice of this, which is, okay, how real is this? It's TV, so it's fake to an umpteenth degree. But
right.
It's just how coerced were these people to be as nasty as they were. That was the lure, though. Part of it, like I said, was the fact that these people seemed to be very authentic. You've seen people blow up in public before and how awkward it is.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there's just something captivating about it to all of us. I mean, even me, for as little time as I want to waste on such nonsense, there's still that little irrational part of me that just wants to see people go off at the air, just to look like a fool. Maybe, what it is? Maybe it's just a mirroring thing, and those shows are truly just designed to make you feel better about yourself, because I always walked away from them going, I'm not that idiot. So maybe that's what the whole experience is designed to be. It's just, I didn't make a fool out of myself at the ticketing counter today, so I'm better than that guy, because we're always wanting to, again, justification. is just a thought away. And so maybe that's another reason.
Oh, you
why.
sly
Well,
guy.
Just saying.
That's why the Real Housewives is such a popular show, I reckon, because people sit back and go, "Wow, these ladies are way worse than me and my coffee clutch."
But demographics are what they are, and so the Real Housewives of Bel Air, or the Real Housewives of the Hamptons, or some absolutely exclusive neighborhood in the Occidental world.
They even have Dubai as a location.
It so far, the Real Housewives of Flin Flon, Manitoba is going to be a whole different fucking experience. That's going to be like just
now. Real Housewives.
The oven now, John. Are you going to slaughter the lamb tonight or tomorrow morning? When should I say the meat will be ready? It's just like, okay, there's a whole different experience. This one.
Yeah. What was the African country that we pitched as our idea as the pilot?
Pick one: Ghana, Angola, Equatorial
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
Your choice. So just make your choice. But
by the way, the supermoon is a thing this week, and
what is with all these moons?
It's a thing though.
Tell me, supermoon is what?
It happens when the full moon is closer to Earth in its orbit. So it appears to be 14%.
Perigee, by the way.
Okay, so it appears to be 14% bigger and 30% brighter than the faintest moon of the year, according to our experts at NASA. I find it hard to sleep when there's a full moon.
Really? So you're in that? Because every time, I know I have interviewed, I can't tell you, countless cops and many emergency room technicians and EMTs and all that kind of stuff in my career. Is you'd be surprised the number of people on the side, hey, is there anything to this full moon thing? And every single one of them, either both on or off the air, will say, oh, absolutely. We are 10 times busier during the full moon. But the official narrative is still, there's no correlation between the fullness of the moon and any activity on planet Earth. That, it's just
I beg to differ.
Of course there is.
I beg to differ because I would say that 99.9% of the time, if I have a hard time sleeping, I will look outside, can bet it's a full moon every time.
Yeah. Well, the fluids in your body are going to be more active. This scientific world and then all these debunk type people, these are the kinds of people that we've let pencil our world to death in the debit column. We've allowed them to just take away all of the mysteries of life. The gravitational tug of our satellite has a literal influence on and yet the fact that it would have any degree of influence on the fluids in your body is, that's just unthinkable. But that doesn't matter. Well, but you're 70% water. And so why wouldn't you be absolutely tugged? And, again, that ebb and flow is going to play out as a literal instrument of the physical body that is you. And also, who knows what kind of spiritual or metaphysical influence it has on what we would call the spirit or the soul or the aura or any of that, because it's all connected. But it's just immediately, we can't even get past the emergency room doors where, oh yeah, it's been a full moon the last couple of nights and we've been 10 times busier. And oh, by the way, that's happened the last 17 years. But oh no, there's no correlation. I mean, if we can't even get past that, then we're never going to start knocking at the real mysteries of why things like that happen.
I would put my bottom dollar on the cop working the night shift or the nurse working the graveyard shift any day over what some expert would say on that regard, because I really do feel like there is a difference. And those are the guys and women, men and women in the trenches who they've got a perspective as well. And I've definitely noticed it in my life.
I've probably mentioned this on a previous installment, but I'll mention it again since we're on the subject of the moon. And this is for all of the people in the world that are of that cut. And I know that everybody is created the way that they are supposed to be created. I truly believe that. So even though people might be diametrically opposed to me in every possible way, as far as, design and fashion is concerned, they have just as much of a right to be here and forward that opinion. But I would just say this to all of those debunker squasher types, those people that love to go out and just kill the mystery. And, I solved everything and there's no mystery to it. Everything has a prosaic explanation. Life is dull, just like, there's no mystery to it at all. Here's a good trivia question for you. Do you know what the mathematical, and this is, you can look this up. This one's just straight out of the Astronomer's Handbook and the Physicist's Handbook. So do you know what the mathematical probability of the moon being the exact size necessary to perfectly eclipse our sun is? 0.
Wow.
So the answer to that question is mathematically, scientifically, the chances, the probability of our moon, our satellite, being the perfect size and distance away from the Earth necessary to perfectly eclipse the sun, as it does and has for thousands of years, is 0. So you just chew on that and tell me that there's not another hand at work.
Take that, Sanjay Gupta.
Sanjay Gupta. We have a Sanjay and then we have a Mehmet, because we got to throw Dr. Oz in there too.
Right.
What a perfect name, right? The man, the legendary man behind the curtain. Speaking of those that love to manipulate and play pranks from beyond, Mehmet Oz. And Mehmet sounds just like a Muppet to me.
He does, doesn't he?
Wasn't there a Muppet named Mehmet? They'd bounce up and down and
go,
radio. That's a Mehmet. One of those had to have been Mehmet, right?
I thought you were going to make some reference to the Lollipop Guild or...
The Lollipop Guild?
Yeah, since we were on Oz.
So between the two of us, we have to take turns rattling off full moons that don't yet exist that should be a thing.
Lollipop Guild moon.
You're going to go with the Lollipop moon. Okay.
100%.
All right. So there's one. I'm not sure about we need guild in there. I think just the Lollipop moon, because it's the moon where, hey, it's the one where it looks like it has a stick in it. It's similar to, and Starbucks is trying to buy it and make it the Cake Pop moon, but the Astronomy Kingdom wants more money. NASA says no, not until they offer us more dough. So it's the Lollipop moon for now, or the Chupa Chup moon.
Yeah, right.
As it's also known in some circles. Okay.
I still feel like the Lollipop Guild moon, it gives it that extra level of sophistication and integrity. If it's exactly what I was thinking. Lollipop Guild.
All right. Okay, fair enough. I think I mentioned it already, but we got to have at least one good sports moon in there. And we have so many balls to choose from. But of course, I'm not going to go we don't need the baseball moon or the basketball moon because those are too popular. So why don't we go with the racquetball moon?
There you go.
Right? All right. So that's
fine. Cheese wheel moon.
It's just the cheese moon.
Cheese
I like
moon.
just the cheese moon, because after all, that's like Cookie Monster would say, the moon looked like a piece of cheese that you can take a bite out of. It's back to the Muppet land again. All right. Is that our Muppet moon, or do we get... No, that's probably a trademark thing. Anyway, Disney would have our ass for... I won't allow a Disney-owned moon anyway.
We need more moons with names, don't we?
Yeah, it's something like that. Anyway, we'll come up with the rest of the list and present it to our audience at a later time. I want some time to think about this.
Yeah, and if our members of our audience has any suggestions, they can write it on a $20 bill and they can mail it to... the other thing I was going to probably, Sanjay and Dr. Oz are going to probably have maybe some mixed opinions on this, kind of like they do with how many glasses of red wine is it okay to consume and still say that it's good for your heart. But
it's dependent on how many they both drink each night, probably.
Yes.
Okay.
And how much olive oil is good for your heart. I was going to talk to you a little bit about this SADS, or the seasonal depression.
We're coming into that time of the year.
We really are, and quickly.
Losing light in the northern hemisphere, and that's what it's largely premised on. That is the available light. And then, of course, the bleakness of the weather as we get into winter, because there's not only less daylight, but there's also more weather conditions that typically show up that will obscure the sun. It's all about vitamin D deficiency, baby. It's
really?
all about that sun.
Yeah.
We're talking about the moon. Now we're switching to we talked about our satellite. Now we're talking about our little star that we go around. And the less we see of that, the more it has an ability to really affect a lot of people. I would think it impacts just about everybody to a degree, but there are some people that are just completely thrown to shit.
Well, they say it's very common. They say that more than 3 million cases in the U.S. alone per year. And
those are officially documented, like medical cases,
right?
3 million. But there's got to be tens of millions that are impacted.
Yeah, or on the fringe maybe. And I think this probably holds a little more weight than like our full moon example, but they did have a few things in here because they say that one of the ways to treat this is through light therapy. And using a special light. But one of the things that I ran across also was, you can't just kind of take anybody as seen on TV's word for it. It really needs to have at least like 10,000 lumens or brightness lux, LUX, in order for it to really have like enough light to be considered light therapy. And that's just enough so that it can actually mimic the natural sunlight. So make sure that you look for that on the box. 10,000, at least 10,000 lux.
I have bought those when I've had to replace light bulbs in my home.
Mm-hmm.
I've purchased those natural light ones, those ones that are supposed to mimic. I hate those.
Really?
I can't stand those. I like the good old-fashioned soft white light bulbs are the only way to go. That artificial natural light, if you will, that natural type light that's designed to come from an artificial source, I can't stand that.
Yeah, the daylight light bulbs are terrible.
Oh, I can't stand that. It's awful. Yeah. I mean, because it doesn't mimic daylight in the least. It's weird. It's artificial, and it makes things in the room look the wrong color.
Yeah.
I think it's just bizarre. And there's also no substitute for old soul. I mean, there are real vitamins. I mean, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Like I remember for a very brief time when I lived at the beach, because this is a perfect place to do it, I actually practiced sun gazing. Do you know what the art of sun gazing is? The Egyptians were said to do this, and it's supposed to be something to help fire off the old pineal gland and, just basically keep you supercharged and attached to the remembrance that everything is connected. And so that big, giant nuclear furnace that in so many ways you come from, because all of the things that constitute your body and all of the things that are surrounding you in this physical experience were pretty much expelled from that big nuclear furnace that's up there in the sky that you're making trips around on this little rock. Yeah. So sun gazing is to be done. It can be done at dawn, but it was supposed to be done mostly when the sun is setting. So the setting sun, and it has to be very low on the horizon because you do have to sun gaze. You have to look at the sun. And of course, that's something to tell you not to do because you'll fucking go blind.
I was going to say, my grandma told me, don't look at the sun.
But the thing about it is that even from a scientific perspective, and again, I'm not a doctor, so consult them or do whatever. There's whatever disclaimer has to be there. Fill in the blanks. Okay?
Not a real doctor. I just play one on a podcast.
When the sun dips down to a particular angle as it's setting, it is safe to look at for a greater length of time than it ordinarily would be if it's higher in the sky. And it's a very short window. And living in an environment where the ocean, the Gulf of Mexico in this case, and yes, I still call it the fucking Gulf of Mexico because who really cares at the end of the day what we call it? I'm not going to ever call it the Gulf of America because I just feel like, give me a fucking break already. Okay. Let's just call it the Gulf, even though there's a lot of Gulfs out there. But so living along the Gulf of Mexico, this created a perfectly flat horizon where the seascape, the flat ocean, was where the sun went down.
Mm-hmm.
And it out my, where I lived along the beach there, that was 100% of the year. It set below the ocean. There was never a time when it set inland over land. And so it created the perfect environment. You also need to do this while you're barefoot and standing on terra firma, grass or sand, which was the case with the beach. And so I did the practice of sun gazing for a few months while I was down there to see if there was any market difference or if I noticed things. And I can't honestly say that I ever did. I didn't sprout wings, like a fairy, or suddenly, develop a taste for, I don't know, tree sap, or start, running around on all fours thinking I was a honey badger. Nothing extraordinary happened. It's totally fine. There's no ill effects on your eyes. But again, do some reading on this and maybe talk to a naturopath or a homeopathic doctor. Your regular doctor is going to say, you should never stare at the fucking sun. And if you do, insurance won't cover the blinders that you need to fix it. So,
is that on the questionnaire that they give you? Excuse me, you just went blind. I have to ask, did you happen to stare at the sun for a long period of time? Maybe doing this sun gazing that all the people are talking about these days?
Because we have these moron fairy dance people out there like this Jack Hansen who's telling people to go out and stare at the sun, and then they go do it, listening to him. Dumbasses come back to my office, and then they have to wear blinders for the rest of their life, and the insurance company won't pay for it if they know.
Denied. No, but they said 10,000 lux light. Start with 20 to 30 minutes daily is another key to this. And they said that if you get something that's less than 10,000 lux light, then you really need to use it for like 30 to 60 minutes. So more lux is better for a shorter duration, but 20 to 30 minutes daily is what they're recommending on this. And remember, we're not real doctors, and we're not prescribing any form of medication, sorcery or otherwise.
And for those of you old enough in the audience to remember what Lux soap actually was, then more Lux for the smelly people in your life as well.
Lux soap? What was that all? What is that all about? I have no
Lux
idea.
comes from the era of, like, you remember Lifebuoy? When, everybody knows about Lifebuoy because they've seen A Christmas Story 1,000 times.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the soap that he was made to suck on because,
yes.
And then they had Palmolive and, but all that stuff they don't make. Lux was a kind of soap, a brand of soap that was made long time ago. I can look it up real quick, but when the last time they actually made Lux soap has to have been at least 40 or 50 years ago. I mean, it's all, well, no, I'll be damned. They still make it to this day. So there you go. They make an aqua sparkle and a soft touch and a soft glow. So Lux, God bless them, they're still around. They've been a brand of soap, bar soap, for long time. That's an old brand of soap. So
you brought it up with wash your mouth out with soap. Did your parents ever prescribe that form of capital punishment?
I was swearing like a sailor by the time I was 6, and they loved it. There's a classic story, actually, because I was exposed to so many comedy movies that had pejorative language in them at a young age. There's a great story from my childhood that my parents used to love to tell. My mother always said to overuse profanity is to do it a disservice, but to know where to perfectly place it is to use it exactly as it was intended. As a little boy, I'm learning how to pick my spots. And so there's a story. We had this big Cadillac Eldorado, giant boat car, 76. It was white exterior, had this lipstick red leather interior. I've probably brought this car up before in some other context on the show. But I'm riding next to my father one day at about, age 5 or 6, far too tender to be about to utter what I did. And again, just wanting to dip my toes into the water with some of the things that I'd been hearing being brought up with the cinema in mind and these comedy films. And so I just looked at him. And the thing is, we weren't even going that fast. We were like in town. But I just looked at him and I said, you know something, Dad? This big bastard sure can go fast, can't it? And oh my God, my dad just lost it. Just absolutely fell like on the floor of the interior. And then the minute we get home, tugging me along into the house, finds my mother, Lorna, where are you? Oh, and I'm in here. What's wrong? And, my dad's never summoning my mom on my account. Go ahead. Tell her what you said. Tell her. Do it. Do the thing. Tell her do what you said.
Do the thing. Do the thing now. Just do it now.
Just as proud as they could be. They were as pleased as punch with the fact that I had like kind of inserted my first pejorative punchline. And because I was raised that way, anybody who has ever been offended or that, that kind of language has been an affront to, I've never understood them. I'm just so like George Carlin used to say, there are no such thing as bad words or dirty words. I mean, he would even talk about racist language and say, it's not the word itself that you should be concerned with. It's the son of a bitch who's using it that's going to shoot you in the back that you ought to be concerned with. And, in so many ways, he's right, because, again, it goes to intent. It goes to what, I talk about all the time with intent. Anyway, you can look those routines up for yourself, but it's just I'm reminded of that today as we talk. Language like that is a bit overused, that it's not, and therefore it isn't fully appreciated, because nothing will punctuate something that is worth punctuating or is punctuatable, if that's a word, which it's probably not, but like a good, a well-placed piece of profane language can just exclamate what you're trying to say, but you've got to do it right. And when you overswear, it loses its ability to make a statement. There's a skit, let's put it this way, there's a skit involving Chevy Chase and Richard Pryor from the early days of SNL that you might be familiar with, where Chevy Chase says a word to Richard Pryor, which is an absolute death sentence today. Mm-hmm. It was completely acceptable in 1976 or 7, whenever this was filmed. And so we've retreated on certain language to an enormous degree. I mean, we are in the foxhole with our head down, covered, it's the worst thing in the world. But we've come so far, and we're just storming the gates, gung-ho, the other way.
And Richard Pryor says,
other language.
Dead honky.
Exactly. The routine. I wanted this. I've been sitting on this for a couple weeks, and I feel like it's time to get it out. There's yes, I suppose it's the download for this week, but I just feel like there's a big push to get this out, because it happened to me recently, and I feel like, the big U is telling me, get this out, because people need to know this. And again, life works in mysterious ways, and I think it honestly is calibrated differently to different people. I'm not sure that there's not one driving formula that we all exist within and, have to abide by the rules of. But I also feel like there's pockets of this, like I've forwarded the theory before, that maybe, the Christian or the Muslim who truly believes that these particular things will happen in the wake of their physical demise will actually happen to them to a certain degree, because they have believed that, they have prepared for that, and that is something that this experience is prepared to give them, what it is that they expect, what it is that they want. But then there's also an overriding measure of, there's also this other thing that you have to account for. So maybe you get this, but only for a certain length of what we would call time. And then, the reincarnative aspect of humanity, or not necessarily humanity, but of existence, of it takes over. Or maybe you're given the choice, like, okay, you wanted this, here it is. Now we're going to give you a way out. If you're tired of heaven, if you're bored with it, this static reality that you've created where everything is perfect, if this is boring you, here's the door, and you can go do something else. They get what they want too. It's like, okay, here it is. We'll give it to you. Now, are you happy with it? Stick with it for a while. Let us know, and then we'll give you an out if you're done with it. So in the spirit of that, I'm not saying that this is an absolute, but it's just a concept that was, I don't know, that I walked into. All right, so this is what I wrote down. And I got chicken scratch going, and I don't see too well anymore, so I'll do the best I can to not stumble. It is my understanding that in general terms, we have the concept of manifestation backwards. Whereas we typically believe manifesting is to conjure something into being in this space that was not already here, it is actually quite the opposite. We instead actually walk into something which has already existed. All we did was just create a path to get to it. And that was shown to me recently because I was mulling, if you will, contemplating in, the thought of manifesting. Maddie, my girlfriend, she's a real manifester. It is amazing to watch her because she doesn't put her mind to it. How do I put this? She's so good at manifesting things for herself that it is only when she stops focusing upon said manifesto, whatever it is that she wants to have happen in this space as this person, this persona that she's taken on in this human existence. It's only when she stops focusing on it so intently and actually just instinctively focuses on it that it absolutely becomes a reality. She has told me on many occasions that she manifested me. And of course, you can't manifest me because I was already here in this form, but she manifested my presence in her life because she claims to have known me when I walked through the door and first saw her. She said, that's him. Like, that's the guy.
Really?
And it's not just this, and don't relegate it just to this, Lifetime movie, Hallmark Channel, fucking, oh, that's the man. There was that aspect to it, as she tells me, but there was also something vastly deeper. Walked into her life. It's that whole thing, where have you been all my life? Well, I've been right here, but you paved the path to me, even though it was me that quite literally in the story walked through the door and saw her sitting at work where we used to work together for the first time because I had to drop off my paperwork to go to work there. But go to what it is that you desire that already exists rather than continuing to futilely try to bring it into this space where it doesn't belong, because this isn't where it exists. Where it exists is where you want to be, so you go there, not the other way around. Does that make sense?
It kind of reminds me of a quote by the famous sculptor Michelangelo that I remember from Renaissance art history, which was, he said that really he described the subject as being trapped inside the marble. And he said, I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free.
Right. Perfect. Love it. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. There was no manifesting of the angel. The angel was already there, hewn inside of the rock. It's not perfect. Love it, Michelangelo. Instead of you carved him, I did this, I brought it into being, it's already there. And ask any artist that's really an artist. Ask any of the great composers. Ask any of the great artists like Michelangelo, the great painters. They will all tell you the same thing. All of those things were already sitting there. All I did was just go to them and bring them into essentially this space by going to them. They were already in existence. I didn't create them. Something else created them. I just got us to the point where we all lived in a space where they were a part of reality. And maybe it has to do with this. And now we're getting into, and I love how, philosophy and even theology to a degree, because it intertwines so much. But I love how all of that really can marry with science. We try to create this, this zone between them, this demilitarized zone, this rive where they're always clashing. There's never supposed to be this marriage of science and religion, as we would say, or theology, or even philosophy in so many ways. And yet, of course, it's intertwined because everything is. And so I love how that also bleeds over into the theories that we have about the multiverse and about how all of the decisions that each of us make and every little single flutter of, the old butterfly effect, all of that literally creates a different reality all to itself. Every single, what we would call moment of every single living second that we're here, or that anybody or anything is here. And so therefore, there's not just a few different parallel universes or parallel dimensions that we can follow. Can you imagine that, what just the little flit of an insect creating its own world that we would go along with or that exists in the same space. It's mind-boggling. And yet that's how many different realities there are for us to occupy. So when we actually do what we call manifesting our goals, because we set these goals and we say, I want to do this, or you went to the space where this was your reality. And if we can start looking at it through that lens, we're all going to get a hell of a lot further in this equation. And that's part of what we're here for, is to understand some of the mechanics of how this works so we can bring about that better world that we all want for ourselves. But it's individual, just the same time as it is collective. Anyway, just was being called upon to share that, and so there, it has been shared. I've done my universal duty. The big U can get off my back now, because it's been draped on me like the supermoon.
This is the way my attention span always goes. You were talking about your girlfriend, Maddie, and how, the situation was really kind of playing out like a Hallmark movie.
I guess.
My mind immediately says, what does the movie trailer sound like to that movie?
Oh, no. Did you AI us?
I didn't really AI you. I'm just going to try to have a little fun with this moment.
That's the frat house, by the way, AIU.
This fall, love is about to bloom in the most unexpected places. When Maddie is working a job 9 to 5, and the door opens, and the man of her dreams walks through.
That's me.
She didn't plan on ever running in to Jack Hansen, but there he is, in a small town radio station where second chances are served, like the hot news items off of the presses.
Where are you getting this, by the way? You AI'd this, didn't you?
It's the Hallmark movie for the seasons. When Love Walks Through the Door.
Is that the name of the film?
It's the title that I'm just trying to, play with.
When Love Walks In, that's a Van Halen song. They could sue for copyright infringement, I suppose, on that. So, no, look, I know, like, it was flattering to say the least to hear that, but it's kind of how we both vibe. It's how we operate. So I wasn't surprised to hear that. I was just sorry that I couldn't reciprocate it, because when I met her, I thought, gee, what a nice young lady. And that was pretty much it, because I was dealing with so much panic disorder at the time that I was just walking through the front door and dropping off my paperwork so I could start the job was quite something. I mean, I had to I had to drop diazepam just to do that. I think that day it was off the charts for a while. And
I've got it.
Oh no.
When love knocks.
When love knocks.
When love knocks.
Okay. I didn't knock, though. The door was open. So
when love walks through the door.
How about when love doesn't have to knock?
Yes.
When love knocks twice. When love, the postman always rings twice. That was a Jack Nicholson movie. You were talking about him earlier.
Yeah.
What about when love drops, a diazepam and is able to finally walk through the door without shitting itself?
When love is highly medicated by prescription drugs.
Now you're getting somewhere. When love is highly medicated.
Our breath as cold as ice. The fools are telling you lies. You'll never find someone new to love you the way I do.
When love opens the door.
Yeah, I figured this could be the soundtrack for your movie you're putting together there, trying to make me the celeb.
Coming this fall to the Hallmark Channel. I always wanted to be a movie trailer guy. I don't know why, but sometimes I kind of feel like maybe I overemphasize the words.
I can see that for you.
You could see that for me?
Yeah. What about the guy that did all of them for a while? There was one guy who worked, the voiceover guy.
Don LaFontaine.
Don LaFontaine. Yeah, that's exactly who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he was amazing. What are we listening to today, Jack?
Oh, this is a little European band. They had two different names. The original name of the band, I believe, was Face Face. Yes, it's true. Face twice, Face Face. And then they changed their name to Purple Cross. And then that's what this is from. So I think they were German.
And what's the name of the group?
Purple Cross.
Purple Cross.
Face Face, then Purple Cross.
Okay. And the name of this track is?
Silver Moon.
Silver Moon.
We talked about the moon so much today.
I like it.
The moon sometimes look like a sea, but you can eat that.
Thanks, Cookie.
All right, Al, until we meet again.
All righty.
Well, it looks like Jack and Michael have finished up their latest chat about all things existence. But if anything they said got your own Existence Brewing, be sure and catch their other talks at existencebrewing.com and drop them an email to share your thoughts using contact@existencebrewing.com.
Existence Brewing.